The Midday Show, with you from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Guest of the day.
Welcome back to the Midday Show. Time now is 2 o'clock on the dot here in the studio. And it's about time we kicked off our conversation with our guest. Today, we're bringing you an inspiring story about innovation, impact, and empowerment. Joining us is a global changemaker, the founder and CEO of Sheconomy, a multilingual woman-led podcast platform created for and by women, built during the pandemic, and now connecting voices across more than 65 languages around the world. She's also a passionate advocate for inclusive innovation. Please help me in joining Anu Bardwaj to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Anu.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, again, pleasure is all ours. So I just want to get straight into it, and let's start with the story behind Sheconomy. How did it all start, and what inspired you to build a woman-led platform that connects voices from around the world?
Great question, and it's a very important one, and I give full credit to my young daughter, Arya Bharadwaj, who was age 7 at the time when I was homeschooling her. And the motivation for Sheconomy was about access and inclusivity, first and foremost, to girls who were not able to go to school during the pandemic. So the question came up at the kitchen table, what happens to these girls who don't have access to Zoom School or Google Classroom? What happens to children that don't have connectivity? And I told her, the reality is some of them may never go back to school.
Right. Girls, they get left behind, unfortunately.
Correct. And worse is that was their one chance to get into schools. And some of these girls may have been compromised. They might have been sold. They might have been trafficked. They might have been married off. We're not talking about them. So this innovation, first and foremost, started to give girls and young boys access to content, as well as access to mothers to learn about what is COVID and how do we protect our family and how do we protect our children. So it was a humanitarian effort from day one, but then it emerged into something much bigger, which is what it is today.
Now, that's absolutely beautiful and very, very inspiring. Sheconomy, like you said, is designed to be inclusive, reaching women on low-cost smartphones and in emerging markets. So why was accessibility such an important part of your vision?
So if you recall, COVID wasn't so long ago. We were all forced into our homes.
Right.
And there were many of us that actually had a house, many of us that actually had electricity, running water. We do have digital connectivity. We can communicate with one another even though we weren't able to communicate in person. But there's so many people on the planet that didn't have any of those things.
Right.
And let alone war. And all these other things that keep happening to them again and again. And so access was a big deal, because if you don't have access, how are you going to contribute to your family, to your country, to your society, to the world? You need that fundamental,
right.
It's a human right at this point.
Right. And first and foremost, how are you going to, do it for yourself,
Exactly. And most importantly, it was about giving voice to the voiceless. Mm-hmm. That's how this all started, as if we're giving our girls who don't have access, it's a way for them to engage through learning through audio.
Right.
If you can't let them go to school, then maybe they can learn in other ways. So this was an innovation back then on how do you allow girls to get, who didn't have the same privileges that we did.
Right.
Those
exact privileges that
exactly.
they deserve. Like you said, it's at this point, it's a fundamental right to be educated, to have shelter, to have food, and all of these things. And obviously Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You can't meet the rest of them unless
Correct.
those basics like food and shelter are provided. And like, as you said, most of the times it's not. We had those during COVID, but many did not. So I think it's absolutely beautiful what you're doing with Sheconomy, because now it features over 5,000 podcasts in 65 plus languages.
Yes.
So can you tell us more about the kind of stories and the topics that people can find on the platform?
Absolutely. So these are all original podcasts. it's a curated collection of podcasts. Some of them are original podcasts that we made during the pandemic. Some of them were podcasts that people shared their feeds and they said, we want to get it out to the world. Some of them are curated in different languages from other platforms that we partner with. So there's a variety of topics, from anything from women's health, which is a really big deal. We have content on entrepreneurship, investing, leadership. We have meditation, for instance, for those people that just need a break during the day, mental health. And we just produced a podcast of a dear friend in Canada called the Zen Den. And I met her probably 25 years ago, and she was a Zen monk in Thailand. And she reached out and said, I really want to get my stories out there and help women from around the world. How do we amplify everyone's voices? So we actually had a producer in the Philippines who was working with us, another mom. And the team was completely global. So topics are varied in terms of what is it that you want, what is it that you need, but most importantly, where can you learn and where can you be inspired?
Right. I was about to say, because it sounds like, anyone can hop onto Sheconomy and listen to any podcast. It sounds like all their needs are met, from mental health to education to self-help and all of these things. So that's absolutely beautiful. Very, very amazing. So you've built an impressive international team and network of women creators from across 175 countries in 65 languages. How do you find and support these podcasters, these podcast hosts from different cultures and backgrounds?
Okay, so some of the women are collaborators from previous initiatives that we've done over the past 2 decades. So I've been in the women's space since I finished graduate school, and I did a master's in Georgetown, communication, culture, and technology. Big base of women in the United States. I also did another degree in Sweden, an MBA. So I have a large number of friends from the Nordics. And also Singapore, spent some time in Asia, and then I was a Fulbright scholar to IIT in Mumbai, India. So we have this huge base in India still. And the Fulbright was focused on women in private equity, and I was looking at the GCC, the MENA region, Southeast Asia, and the Nordics when I was doing this study. So we had a large number of women in finance and tech, entrepreneurship. So how do I find these women? Like, we're all friends. And as soon as I let them know what we were building, majority of them came forward and said, I want to be a part of this. I want to amplify, I want to support. And many of them were early adopters during COVID, during the pandemic. So it was almost like, let's test it and see if this is even going to work. So we started off just really shooting for the sun, the moon, and the stars. And we are where we are now. And then over time, over the past 4 years, it amplified. And we are now where we are. We're seeing about 20% growth every month across our platform on smartphones. And so people are finding out about us. So it took a while. And it wasn't just the 4 years during COVID. It was everything before that, almost 10 years on our previous platform called Women Investing in Women Digital. So it's consistency, persistency. It's a lot of let's get the name out there, community out there, and they kind of stick together.
That's absolutely beautiful. Why are women-led tech innovations transformational for women and girls, especially here in Qatar and the MENA region?
So I think going back to why Qatar. Going back to Qatar is people don't really understand this or know this, which is that 40% of female founders in this part of the world are getting funded. And that's an anomaly. In other countries, it's less than 2%, especially in the United States. I've been watching this for 2 decades, and the needle hasn't moved at all. And I think one of the things that's being emphasized, since I've been here during Web Summit, is the need for deep tech. And this was like so so reassuring and refreshing to know that there are so many women who are working in the areas of AI or blockchain or innovative technologies, cloud, in this part of the world. So I thought, why not test our podcast listening app? One, because we were backed by the Islamic Development Bank during COVID. That's something else that people don't know. The first seed money actually came from Jeddah, from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Sultanate of Oman, the United Arab Emirates, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. And if they didn't get behind us from day one, we would have no economy.
Right.
And now it's the reverse. It's not let's go to Qatar and get the investment and then blow it up.
Right.
It's let's bring our innovation and really see how we can tweak this and make this better and take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of getting the access that we need to the women and girls that we designed this for, I think we're in the right place to start testing out our new innovations and seeing how we can make it better, faster, stronger with the women here, because they're really talented. And I'm seeing that's something that's also not known, is the level of preparation. You're true gems. And every time I speak to each and every one of you, it's like, wow, she's done this and she's done that and she's multilingual. Part of this whole thing is getting women to amplify their voices. And there's so many that are ready and willing, and this is the next level. And the other last thing that I'll emphasize is that there's so many women who are trained already, and they can work from home. And this is a space where you can have mothers who don't have to compromise their families to do what they want to do in this podcasting world. So I just thought, what a great way to include women, to share their voices, and to bring out the best in tech and the best in innovation.
All at the same time.
Correct.
Amazing. Now, before we take a quick break, obviously building something inspiring like this platform, like Sheconomy, obviously it comes with a set of challenges, right? So what were some of the biggest hurdles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So first and foremost, what we're trying to build is first in the world. It's listen, learn, and earn. So you need to understand how to build this from the foundation, because platforms like Spotify or platforms like Google or platforms like Apple or Amazon, they started probably 20 years prior. And we're starting in a whole nother phase of innovation and technology where there's Web3 and blockchain and AI and all these things. So it wasn't there before. But more importantly, we're trying to do something that hasn't been done before, which is build on these low-cost mobile devices, which we know is going to be the solution to include the next billion or 2 billion. And how do you do that? Leveraging deep tech. How do you do that saying, I don't want to do what everyone else has done because it didn't work for the poorest of the poor.
Right.
It didn't work for refugees always. I mean, maybe they have smartphones, but at the same time, there's people that have no phones. So we are looking at the lowest common denominator, 2G, 3G,
right.
4G, and many people are saying, well, are you the one to do it? What makes you think you can do this? And I get this pushback.
Everything.
Everything
makes me think I can do it.
Yeah, I have a daughter, and
Yeah.
I get it, and I don't want other girls to suffer.
Right.
And at the end of the day, she donated her college fund to say, look, Mama, I believe in this. I believe in you. Let's give it all that we've got. So even though I haven't seen her since May, she knows, like, I'm here for a reason to help these girls, and I'll do whatever it takes to help them. We now have this tech in place, and there's still pushback from billionaires who have the ability and the means to write a check or to say, I know what you've done until now, and let's get this party started. They're like, well, what about this and what about that? And I think at this point, either you're going to do it or not do it. We've done it already. We've shown what we can do. And that's the biggest hoop is people that are wanting this technology out there in the world. Right? So we may have to self-fund it. I've self-funded it for the most part with grants.
Thus far, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. You know, the story of Sheconomy and all of this is very inspiring to hear, and I hope our listeners are, feeling the exact way I'm feeling right now listening to you talk about how it's such a humanitarian effort. So, Anu, you've also led global initiatives in blockchain, digital inclusion, and women's investing. How do these experiences tie together in your leadership philosophy today?
I think what the past has taught me is that if we don't take risk, we're not going to move anywhere. We're not going to move the needle forward. And what message are we sending to the next generation? Like, keep doing what's not working, or let's try and see if it will actually work. With that said, it's about being cautious, making sure you're doing the right thing for the right reasons. And I also believe that if I'm going to take a risk, what's the worst case outcome? Who's going to benefit? And who's going to be compromised, if anything? So I think, going forward, I have been taking really big jumps, really big risks. But at the end of the day, if I see like the biggest percentage benefiting the most number of people by taking that risk, I will be first to stick my neck out there. Because if I don't do it, then what's the guarantee that these people are going to be helped, or this issue or topic that I believe so strongly in is going to be addressed? And I think it's all about, what is your mission? What is your vision? What are your values? And if you can define that and be very true to yourself and say, this is worth fighting for, not just for now, not just for tomorrow, but for the next 10 years, 20 years, then I would say go for it. And even if you don't do it, somebody else will follow it, that pattern, and say, well, she got this far and she did as much as she could, and then take it up from there. So I'm looking at some really big problems in the world. And I think collectively, once you get to a certain threshold, everyone else jumps in because they believe it's less risky, and they say, okay, it's worth sticking to it.
Someone else took the risk, so now we can be rest assured in the risk that they took since they got this far.
Correct.
Basically.
Absolutely.
Okay. And as someone who works across different industries and continents, because you've mentioned, Saudi, you've mentioned Sweden, you've mentioned Singapore, and now Qatar, how do you manage to stay grounded and motivated?
I have been blessed with an amazing daughter who continues to inspire, and I've watched her journey, following us around the world and doing the kinds of things that she's done. And from such a young age, it's about including the people that are closest to you in this path. And when I was co-chair of Blockchain for Impact at the UN, Arya gave her keynote when she was 7.5 on a panel on crypto for kids. And that was pretty impressive. I was happy that, we got to the point where I was able to include her. She's been a co-host on Women Investing in Women and Girls. And now she knows how to use her voice. And it's all about confidence and believing in yourself, believing in what you stand for. And what gives me balance and what gives me hope is watching the next generation of girls. Everyone knows what was happening during COVID. They were all behind their computers playing Roblox or games or whatever. So we have this whole new generation of young kids who are now digital. They're natives. And especially in the region, 75% are under 30. That's a statistic I heard. I don't know if this is true, but it's just inspiring that, we have connectivity unlike never before.
Right.
And that's very powerful because everyone has a voice who has connectivity.
Right. So looking ahead, what's next for She Economy, and what do you see as the greatest opportunities for building the platform right here in Qatar? Are there any, partnerships or maybe collaborations that you hope to establish within the region?
Absolutely. There's so many. And we started about 20 years ago partnering with organizations in the region. Qatar is new for me, but I have been going to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. We've been in Oman, Bahrain, but Qatar is new, Kuwait is new. And what I've realized is that there's no shortage of people that want to collaborate. I've been warmly welcomed here in Qatar, and I am looking at organizations that are focused on women's health primarily, Sports, because we're all athletes in our family. And the other thing that I'm very interested in is in education, obviously, because Shikonomi is very focused on education for all, especially in audio, because not everybody can read still.
Right.
And you have people that may not be able to see, but they still have a voice.
Right. Or those with dyslexia, for
Correct.
example.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways that we can engage those who cannot afford smartphones. So this is a way to move forward. And telecom companies, I've been working with Urdu for the past 4 months. There's others here in the region. I'm just deeply inspired by women who are in tech across the board, whether it's with Qatar Airways or whether it's with Sidra or whether it's with QNB or others. There's large companies where women are really shaping and transforming the new narrative.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm very, very sad to be reaching the end and, be wrapping up. But so, Anu, you've been recognized globally for your work from Vital Voices to the UN stage. So what's your broader vision for the future of Shikonomi and for the women who use it?
Oh, great question. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm sad too, but I know there's going to be more because I just got to Doha. Hopefully there's a lifeline here for me as we scale and grow. My greatest hope is that not only that women can now get access to listen to all these brilliant women who have already shared their voices on the world stage, but more importantly, that they have the ability to share their own voices. So Shikonomi is all about giving access, inclusivity, and sharing all this knowledge and wisdom that so many of our mothers, our grandmothers, but even our daughters have with each other around the world. But with AI and with all of the new technologies that we have access to, it's going to give women and girls opportunities to share their own voices. The next billion creators, the next 2 billion creators, however many, it's going to level the playing field. Because if you keep people in the dark, and if you keep people silent, that doesn't move the needle in any direction.
Right.
More importantly, what's going to happen is we're going to get access to data, women's health, women's entrepreneurship, innovation, so many things that every government can make policies and programming more relevant for their own people. And we don't have that data right now. So this is something to really think about. And in the near future, we've got listen, learn, and earn. So people are earning points from day one. And these points can then be converted into rewards. We've already built the tech. It's already working. We know it's working. It's built in 175 countries. So really, the next level of Shikonomi is access, inclusivity, and most importantly, affordability to people who haven't been able to access this tech before.
Last and definitely not least, before we wrap up, for any woman that is listening today, right now, whether they're students, professionals, or entrepreneurs, what advice would you give to those who want to use technology or creativity to make a difference?
Well, on that note, I would say just be bold and, just know that you're already women in tech. Every single one of you who's made a phone call, you're a woman in tech.
Everyone who sent us text message,
right?
Created a video, a photo.
Of course. And the thing is, our girls, majority of them, have used a mobile phone at this point. And I know my daughter has been stealing my phone since she was 2. And I don't know how many of you have like these YouTube munchkins, right?
Looking around the room like, I don't know who you're talking to.
Exactly. So if you're watching YouTube, if you're listening to music, whatever it may be, like this is all tech. You're consumers of tech. If you're not a creator of tech, you're a consumer of tech.
Right.
Right? So either way, you are a woman in tech. So be bold, be brave, be strong, and know that if you don't understand what these new technologies are, there's a high probability that they're controlling you. It's not the other way around, right?
Right.
So it's important for those of us who have that knowledge, like you're creating podcasts and live radio shows. We've got people taking video and so forth, people editing social media. There's a real place for women and girls in the future, and I think we're already dominating more than we have before in so many years. So this is our golden era.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you in that. I think women are absolutely dominating every industry that, we've been coming into. We've also been creating our own spaces, and that's absolutely beautiful and very inspiring to see. For example, She Economy is a beautiful example of creating your own space rather than trying to fit in one that, is going to reject you anyway. So just create your own space.
Correct. And most importantly, what a great environment to do it, where 40% of female founders are getting funded.
Right.
And also, there's a large number of women who actually have investable capital in this part of the world. I know this from research. I know this from experience. And I know this that, it's not always said out there. There's no need to show it.
Right.
I've seen it with my own eyes. I know it from facts. And they're doing a lot of good with that money and that capital. So this is the place to build whatever tech, not just for ourselves, but for the other women in the world. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Qatar.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Anu. It was absolutely a pleasure to host you and to have this conversation. Is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with before you go?
I want to say thank you to all of you for listening today. I want to say thank you to Al Johra for following up with me. That's like from the bottom of my heart. You've given my voice importance in your nation, and that I'm so grateful for. And for all the women out there today and men who've been supporting us, I want to say thank you to Arya and her father for allowing me to come this far and follow my dream. It just means the world to me. And for all of the men out there who've been supporting our dreams, thank you very much. I leave you with that, is that if you don't make your dreams heard, no one else will support it. And go for whatever you believe is the most important thing that needs to be done to change the world, because people will help you.
Absolutely beautiful. Again, thank you again, Anu, for being here. The pleasure was all ours to have you and share your story.